Yeah, dude. I mean, keyword research is like a rabbit hole, and it's something like I was listening to an interview on WP Eagle, his channel the other day, and it was with like an ex SEO guy, and he was just going on and on and on about all these different keyword tools and how you can do this and how you can do that. I tried a bunch of them, but I find like your KGR method was is brilliant. When I first started my big content push about a year ago, there was one of the KGR terms that I found that is now, because of COVID, is gigantic. Like it's a freaking beast of a keyword. I'm getting, it's like 30% of my traffic from that one keyword. So anyway, yeah, it's a good thing. And the other thing that I really like is Keyword Chitter. It's free. It gives you a bunch of ideas. One tactic that I would highly recommend is to pay the $7 and do the Ahrefs trial. And then it's good for competitor research or competitor keyword hacking. So the way I've used that is you go on, you find your, and I'm sure a lot of the keyword tools do this. I just figured out how to do it in Ahrefs. But Ahrefs will produce a spreadsheet of all of the keywords that your competitor ranks for, and you can see what positions they're in and that kind of thing. And then you can then take those keywords and start writing content about those keywords as well. So
Yep.
that's the one, again, that I've used that in Keyword Chitter and KGR.
Perfect. And yep, SEMrush and Ahrefs do really well with that organic keywords that any website is ranking for. So you can go snag that data. It's actually great to pull it from, and you probably did this, 10 different competitor websites, sort of aggregate all the data. You can sort it however you want. And there's other metrics that you can go on. Like, let's say you want to find the KGR terms. So maybe you just look at all the terms that have search volume under 250 and then start sorting from there. So yeah, that's a great tip there. For the KGR, did you have like a certain number of KGR posts that you published out of those 100 additional posts in the last 12 months?
I would say probably somewhere in the range of 30 to 50% of the posts that I post have probably been KGR. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the others were just like good keywords that you just wanted to go for?
Exactly. And this is something too. Once your site gains a certain authority too, I think the KGR metric you can up your, the ratios as well. Like I've ranked for much more competitive keywords using that same, but yeah, the KGR stuff, when you have a somewhat established site, you really zooms. Like I had an article. Actually, this is a funny anecdote. I had an article a couple of days ago that was a KGR term that went right to the top of Bing, and then Google was like a day later. Like with Bing, it was a few hours. Google was a day later, and I'm already seeing 20 to 30 search hits from that per day because it's KGR, but because of what's going on with COVID, it's not really KGR. There's a lot of people searching for it.
Got it. Very interesting. In like, I think it's key to know what you just mentioned. And I try not to talk about it too much because there's like a wide spectrum of viewers and listeners in the audience. So, yes, you can move the goalpost really for a KGR in the formula. Don't tell anyone. But basically, it's great for a brand new site. But if you have a site that's been around for 4 years and you have like 150 pieces of content like you do, then yeah, you don't have to follow such rigid rules. Like your site is going to react different than like a brand new site. And it should, right? Like it's established, it's getting traffic, it's ranking for a bunch of keywords already. So it totally makes sense. And you could adjust a little higher search volume, for example. Maybe the KGR value doesn't have to be under 0.25. So you could kind of tweak things. But the problem, of course, you could imagine, Beau, is like, someone's like, well, you could tweak it, and then they put out a brand new site, and then they think, oh, I'm going to just change everything, and it doesn't work then.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Right now I'm working on it. So I just bought a site from Motion Invest, as well as I am building a new micro niche site. And for both of those, I'm going to be using KGR. And I have another site that I built about 6 or 7 months ago. So I have 4 sites, I think, in total. So I have another site I built about 6 or 7 months ago that just came out of the so-called sandbox. I'm going to starting to get some hits on Google. And again, I think if I put some good KGR content there as well, it'll position that site for a lot more success too. So I believe
Cool.
100% in it, and yeah, totally get it.
Let's dive into a couple of those other sites and then we'll swing back to your main site and talk about link building in a couple minutes here. But so for the site that just got out of the sandbox,
Right.
so you're seeing some hits right now, it's getting a little more traffic. How much content was on there? And like, do you actually see like, oh, this is right at, 6 months in one day?
Yeah. I wish I had looked at that specifically. I think the shitty thing is I misconfigured Google Analytics, but I did have Google Site, Google Page, Google Webmaster. What is that? You know what I'm trying to
Search
say, right?
console, search
Search.
console.
But I did have Search Console, so I was like, oh, I'm starting to get some traffic over here. The analytics. So anyway, I'll look at that. But I think it was right around 6, 7 months that it started to see it, a little bit of traffic. That particular site only has 10 pieces of content on it.
Gotcha.
So to add some stuff to it now.
Interesting. Okay. And then for Motion Invest, it's sort of a marketplace sort of scenario. So, yeah, what
Right.
was the experience like? I haven't purchased anything from there, but I know the founders pretty well.
Sure. So yeah, I think they're really new to that kind of domain or website flipping space. So they send out a newsletter. They only have a very small amount of sites. They put out 1 or 2 sites every other day or something, or maybe 2 or 3 a week. It's not very many. And I had been meaning to buy a new site kind of under a $5,000 price point, and I saw one that came up at $2,200. I kind of snagged it right away. So yeah, they have some. I think overall it was a good thing. They have, like, I bought it on a Friday. They didn't. I don't want to talk bad about anybody. They didn't get back in touch with me until Monday about transferring the site, which I was kind of a little. It was the first domain I'd ever bought from a site, so I wasn't sure if that was normal. But once they got in touch with their transfer person, their transfer guy was just amazing. He was a guy out of Pakistan, but he was super helpful, super on it. So all in all, I mean, I would recommend them, but
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I think you're highlighting a good thing, the onboarding after something happens. Like,
Right.
you don't know what's supposed to happen. So it's like really important to set the expectations, like maybe even on their sales page, like after you pay, here's what's going to happen. If it's on the weekend, you're not going to hear anything until whatever the expectations should be. Like, as long as everybody's operating on the same like plan, then no one's surprised. But you were like, hey, I just sent over like a couple $1,000. What's going on here?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It would be super helpful even if the auto email that goes out would say something to the tune of, this is our process. This is what to expect over the next few days. But when you're when you're new to it, you're just like,
What's going on? Yeah.
$2,000. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I take it the plan for that one, pump some more content on there, low competition, and see what happens, or is it anything unusual?
It is. It's an unusual site. I'm excited about that. I bought it. It's going to be a lot of work because the site was written by a non-native English speaker, and there's a lot of just every post pretty much has to be rewritten, and there's about 60 posts on the site. So that's a little daunting, but the site is somehow ranking for a lot of keywords. So, and I've made $7 or $8 in the 4 or 5 days that I've had Amazon associates on the site. So, earning a little bit. I'm confident that a year from now it'll have a really good ROI. So,
That's awesome. And do you have any opinion on like how a site like that with subpar content is making money and worth a couple $1,000?
yeah, it's a good question. I think it's just a matter of there not being a lot of content around that topic on the internet. So Google has to show you rank something that's related. So, you know.
Gotcha.
So that's all the more reason to put out good content, because if you put out good content, you're that much more likely to, you know, to
Oh
rank.
yeah. I'd be interested, wonder if, you go and improve some of that content, if it'll start ranking for like more long tail keywords and just get more traffic, even if you're not, really adding much new content, but you're just cleaning up the garbage that's there.